All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Susan Manuello, and I'm going to be your short host for the evening because we have such an incredible training coming up for you guys tonight. So I'm going to go through our team huddle and announcements and recognition quite quickly so that we can get to our incredible training tonight. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're going to start off by reminding you that every Monday morning we do have this incredible power hour that is happening again every Monday morning. It's at 8 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. Central, or you get to sleep in a little if you're on the East Coast, or you're taking a break away from your 9 to 5. But hopefully you're tuning into this because every week we just have one of our incredible directors coming to you guys with some tips and a working hour for you to apply to your business. So if you have not been on one of these, I highly recommend putting them into your weekly calendar and an opportunity to work your business. So they're really, really great. And then in addition to our corporate calls, which we have orientation on Tuesday nights, we have Remon Revealed on Thursday nights. We also have every first Tuesday of the month, we have a why Remon, if you will, why people are joining. And last week, Christy Belliston did an amazing job. We have the recording. In fact, if anybody is able to pop it in the chat, that would be amazing. But it's also a lot of times in your messenger threads. Just get with your director and they will be sure you get it. And then this Thursday, we have a live masterclass. So what I want you guys to know about this Thursday is you guys, we always bring the demonstrations, right? We always bring the awesome giveaways. But what Jamie DeBronos and I are going to do this Thursday is we're going to highlight our customers. So, every single time that you buy items, well, maybe not every time, but I'm sure I'm not alone. When you're looking over something, you go to the reviews. You want to see what are other people saying? What is the social proof about this product that I'm buying? And so that's what we're going to do on Thursday is we're going to have customer review edition, back-to-back customer reviews from real people who are getting these amazing results with Remon. And they're going to be, sharing that either by video or live. And so what a great time to get your new, prospects or customers or people that you want to look at the business. You want them to see how come we get these rave reviews because our products are so incredible. So you do not want to miss this. Get your people on this Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, and we're going to bring it. So I'm so excited for that call. Okay. Don't forget Product University is back. If you are not already registered, feel free to register right now on that QR link. You will get an email to attend every week all the way through May 20th. So we've got just a couple of more. And then we also want to be sure that everyone is capitalizing on this incredible Fast Start promotion that we have for the month of May. So if you did not know, this is the time to start brand new planners because they get to participate in this additional bonus when they reach manager and when they reach senior manager. You guys, this makes the compensation go from, $400 or $500 to even up to like the thousands. So you really want to be sharing this with people that even current customers that maybe are asking you guys a little bit more about what you do. This is the time to get their attention so that they become a planner with you. And then this other promotion is everybody gets free enrollment for the entire month of May. So that $20 is waived, which I'm like, $20 to start a business is already incredible, but it's just a really cool perk to not have that. And then of course, this tote bag is so much fun. Anybody who achieves manager, senior manager. By the way, that's anybody. If you started a year ago and you're at manager, set your goal for senior manager because you're going to get this amazing tote and it's like, this limited edition. Like this is like a badge of honor. So we want you guys to earn these because it's so much fun. And of course, you're brand new people as well. These are coming back very, very soon. May 15th is just around the corner. It's just 4 days away. So just be checking the chats, checking the threads, because you'll see we've got the cleansing experience kit. the one with the 3 mini cleansers, those will be back. The full new experience kit with the full signature line, those will be back, as well as the beauty collagen ampule shot. So stay tuned for that. Okay, you guys, it's time to, oh no, not yet. It's almost time to celebrate. Almost time to celebrate, but also make sure that this is on your calendar for fall. We've got our convention coming up in Las Vegas, August 7th through the 9th. Definitely get your tickets or get with your upline team leader or director because they may have already bought a bundle, which means you can secure a ticket for a really amazing price. And then we also have our hotel block. So scan this QR code quickly if you need that hotel block so that you can be sure to reserve your room at the discounted Remon booking fee of $220. That's with taxes and fees, of course, but really, really great room block, especially if you can find a roommate, or you could totally go old school and fit like 4 people in your room. We have done that. All of us have done that. Okay. So Bahamas is our next Remon retreat. And, it's all year, you guys, that we have to qualify for this trip. And really, this is, there's different points that get attached to your activity. But one of the best ways is to get out there and continue to get customers on a consistent basis. And that's another reason why all of us, thanks to Tracy Zimmer, but we all joined in with her, why we're doing this extremely fun Boo Say Boo Club, because we want to help you guys and all of us be consistent with that customer rhythm. So when you have 5 customers, not brand new, it just means 5 customer orders, you get in the Boo Say Boo Club 5. When you get 10, you get in the Boo Say Boo 10, and then so on and so forth, right? We're celebrating you at 15 and at 20. If you're a super overachiever, sorry, you're just going to be in the 20 club. But it's really incredible because what we're going to do is every single time that you get into these clubs, you get entries into our live drawing that's going to happen on the first Monday of June. And we're going to keep doing this, but we're going to have swag and gift cards and private coaching sessions and so many things, you guys. We want to reward everybody for doing what we already want to do, but just, have more fun with getting more customers. And you're going to be in the club. So you definitely want to be in the club. And this is when we get to celebrate everybody's efforts already. It's only May 11th, only May 11th. And everybody on this list is already in Club 5. So shout out to everybody. I don't have time to read all of the names, but if you're on here, round of applause, round of applause. Congratulations, way to go. And Club 10, Kathy Allen, Carrie Pierce, Jamie DeBronos, Tracy Pettit, Dr. Rimka, Stephanie Easterling, Lori, Sherame, and Kendra Johnson. So way to go. And our Club 15, we have Ashley Petita, Sarah Bernard, and our Club 20 is the one and only amazing Lori Aldis. So let's catch her, please. I know some of you guys are already so close to the next tier because I see you're at 9 or you're at 14. So I know you're going to get there. Okay, you guys, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for tonight. And if you don't already know him, let me please tell you a little bit about him because not only is we always say he's basically my sponsor, but he is, and he really is the reason that I'm here. The person that reached out in between us is not here anymore. And so I'm just absolutely blessed to have him as my mentor, my upline, my coach. But you guys, I'm so excited that he's here tonight with you because he's going to talk about shifting our identities and how that is the core of shifting everything that we want, everything that we want in life and with Remon. And I'm telling you, he's the one you want to hear this coaching from because he has over 2 decades of experience in this industry. He's been a multiple 6-figure earner. But what I love about Julian's story is he also experienced the business where he wasn't. He was like, what am I doing? So he's going to tell you a little bit about that. He's been featured in New York Weekly and LA Times for coaching and transformation. He's consulted for 500 companies, And this is so much fun. He's also been a celebrity trainer. He's taught in studios for on-demand, Meta, like Lululemon, and he also has been at Rumble Boxing, which I don't even know if we have one in Denver, but I really want to go to that. So without further ado, Mr. Julian Doan, thank you so much for being on tonight and giving us all of your amazing wisdom.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
All right, let me share my screen. Share.
Yes, and I'm gonna get you spotlighted too.
All right. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, I want to give it back to Susan, all the amazing leaders we have on this call. I see Christy Bellison, Miss Brianna Michaels, Lori, and these calls are going to be some of the best tools in helping you build your business. And what I love so much about Remon, especially this team, is these are all sidelines and cross lines. And at the end of the day, we're all committed to playing for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. And what I love so much is when we go to convention, you can't even tell who's on whose team. And that's just a commitment to the culture. That's a commitment to the people that they have. And not to mention, everybody's so beautiful, right? Like, I feel out of place being on this call. Maybe I'm just on this call to show you that one, guys can do it, and you don't have to be good looking to do it, right? So, but I have so much love for Susan. And, I always say this every time she introduces me, but you know, a lot of times when you get started in network marketing, you get started in a business like this, when you make your transaction, it looks like you invested into Remont, right? And then if I were to ask you, who did you really make that investment out to? A lot of you would say it's an investment in myself. But I want to expand your perspective a little bit. And when you get started in this industry, it's not just an investment in yourself, it's an investment in who you get to be for other people. And what Susan knows now, but she didn't know at the time, when I first got started in Remon, I was very reluctant. I actually didn't want to build it. And the reason why I didn't want to build it, I got started because number one, I promised Tim and Chris, if they ever did another company, I would do it with them. And number two, my life was so calm. I was doing so well in fitness that I couldn't imagine juggling something else. And what was amazing is when I met Susan, obviously she has so much potential. She's done so much in the past, but she's what we call a wounded warrior, right? Like a bird that needed to mend her wing. And what's amazing about this industry is that when you meet people that call you forward to be more than who you are, not for you, but for them. And so in the process of supporting Susan, it actually helped me get back in the industry, build my confidence as well, because I felt responsible for her, right? I brought somebody in who brought her in, that person quit. And just because that person quit doesn't mean Susan didn't want to succeed. And so I took that responsibility on and I was like, man, there's no way I can let her fail, regardless of how I feel, whether I want to build right now or not. And in the process of doing that, like in helping her find her wings, it helped me find my wings as well. So I'm extremely grateful for Susan. So, but without further ado, I could talk about Susan forever, right? So that's a whole nother, training. But today's topic is something called Built to Last. And Susan talked a little bit. I do consulting work for Inc. 500 companies. I don't do that as much anymore. It's just based on a referral basis and if I have time. But a lot of the strategies that I teach here, I teach to all the Inc. 500 companies. And it's amazing because why are we here? We're here to build something that lasts. So let me tell you what today is and what today isn't. Okay. So nothing about today is going to be motivational. Everything about today is what I like to say is architectural, right? Teaching you how to build your business by design instead of default, right? Building it by choice versus chance. Now, at the end of the day, we're not on this call to get excited. Some of you will get excited, right? But the biggest point of why we're here today is to get aligned, okay? So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Now, it says 60 minutes, but we're not going to do it in 60 minutes. We're going to do it in 25, okay? So we're going to cover 6 things, okay? Not 6 tips, not 6 hacks, but 6 shifts in how you think. And here's the beauty of it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So the section 1 that we're going to talk about is the question that determines everything about your results. Okay, section 2, we're going to talk about why most people have an invisible ceiling and they don't even know it. Section 3, we're going to talk about the 3 levels every leader operates from and which one you're actually at right now. Section 4 is going to be the core framework I use and teach. Simple, powerful, duplicatable. And in fact, this framework is what has allowed me to pretty much succeed in every industry that I get involved in. Like I used to be 210 pounds, right? I never thought I'd be a celebrity fitness trainer teaching for high-end brands and all these different things, but I applied the same principle. So what we're going to share with you today not only applies to Remont, but applies to anything you want to succeed at. So you take this framework, you can apply it to anything in relationships, right? In fitness, and it'll still work, right? Section 5, we're going to talk about the difference between motivation and standards, right? Motivation, right, is a visitor, right? It doesn't come to stay. standards is what lasts, right? And we're going to talk about the four pillars that hold the leader together. And I think a lot of times we just focus on the business, we let other areas slide without realizing that if you bleed in one area, it's going to bleed in another, including business, right? So a lot of these Inc. 500 companies, when they hire me, I don't teach them sales strategies. I don't teach them techniques because every different sales industry has their own fundamentals, right? But what we realize is the principles stay the same. So what I teach them is not just to be top producers, but how to maintain as a top producer and not let things outside of their business affect their business, okay? And then section 6, which is my favorite, we're going to talk about how to build a team that doesn't need you. And that's legacy. So by the end of this, you're not going to feel inspired. I mean, some of you will, right? But more important than feeling inspired is you're going to feel clear. And guess what? At the end of the day, clarity is more valuable than inspiration. Because guess what? Inspiration fades, but clarity is what drives decision, okay? So let's go ahead and dive into it. Two people, same product. So I want to start off by asking you a question, okay? Two people join this company on the same day. They have the same products, same compensation plan. They have the same upline, same training. One of them goes on to build a team of thousands, travels the world, and creates an income their family has never seen before. The other one quits in 90 days, sometimes less. They have the same opportunity, but at the end of the day, really, what is the difference? Okay? It's not the upline. Because I've seen people with incredible uplines go nowhere, and I've seen people with horrible uplines succeed beyond their imagination, right? It's not the timing, because I've seen people join at the right time, and guess what? Still fail. It's not the economy, it's not the country, it's not the president, it's not the products. You see, the difference is who they believe they are. The difference is identity. And so today we're going to talk about that, right? Again, it's not about motivation, it's not about scripts, it's not about tactics, it's about the architecture underneath it all. Why? Because you have so many great leaders here that have their own systems that work phenomenally well. But do you know why it works well? Because they believe in themselves, they know who they are, and they believe in the system. And that's where everything starts. So let's talk about it, right? Same opportunity, but what's different? And here's my promise to you. Every single one of you on this call right now, everything you want, the income, the freedom, the team, the recognition, the life is already available to you. I promise you. And let me tell you something. It's not locked behind a new product. It's not locked behind a better product. It's not locked behind a different upline. It is not locked behind a perfect economy. It will only come to the version of you who believes they deserve it, right? So today is all about building that version. So let's talk about it, right? I mentioned it earlier, the invisible ceiling, okay? Now, there's a man named Maxwell Maltz, and he was a plastic surgeon, okay? So his job was literally people would change their finances to change their face, right? We change people's faces to change their finances, but he's a very well-known plastic surgeon, and he spent decades fixing people's faces. And he noticed something strange. He would perform the surgery, the face would change, but many of his patients, they couldn't see it. They still felt ugly, right? They still felt less than, and they still operated from their old story of who they believed they were. And that's when he realized that the face changed, but the self-image didn't. And he wrote a great book. It's kind of a hard read, but it's a great book. It's called Psycho Cybernetics. And, just to save you time, here's the central idea. Your self-image determines your results every time, not your strategy, not your hustle, your self-image. That's why sometimes we see people get started in this business. They say the wrong things. They build it the wrong way. They do everything that we teach you not to do, and yet they're able to have tremendous amount of success. So I want you to think about what that means for your business. What that means is you can have the best product, you can have the best system, you can have the best script, but still hit a ceiling. Not because the opportunity is limited, but because your belief about what you deserve is limited. And at the end of the day, you cannot outperform who you believe you are, right? So what does that mean? I want you to imagine that your mind is a guidance system. You see, Maltz had an incredible idea that changed how I think, right? He said the mind operates like a guidance system, like a missile, like a GPS. It finds what it's programmed to find, right? Now, if you're programmed to find limitation, guess what you're going to find? Limitation. No matter how great the opportunity is, you're always going to find the problems and you're always going to find the difficulties, right? Even when you're surrounded by abundance, even when you're surrounded by so much social proof of people making it happen, even when the opportunity is right in front of you. Now, on the other end, guess what? If you're programmed to find possibility, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how challenged you are, you're always going to find a path, even when others can't see one. So the question is never, is the opportunity real? The question is, what program is running underneath you? So, what's the missing piece? And today I want to share with you something personal. I'm going to share a few personal things that most of you probably never heard. I mean, some of the leaders on this call probably never heard, but I want to share with you because I think it's valuable. You see, there was a time in my life when I was broke, right? I got started in network marketing. I was 18 years old. I got started because I want to make friends, right? I was high functioning autistic. I didn't understand social cues, right? But I understood patterns and I was a serious student. I took all the notes, I took everything. And there was a time in my business when I was completely broke. I was sleeping in my car and I would wake up early driving to the gym just to shower so no one knew, right? And the reason why I was homeless is my parents gave me an ultimatum. They said you either, go get a job, right, and still live at home, or you choose network marketing and you're out on your own. And at the time, I knew my parents didn't understand the vision, right? Because it wasn't given to them. But I knew if I quit, I would regret it forever. And all I needed to do was to make it work to change their mind. You see, I was in network marketing 5 years. I knew the scripts, I knew the system. I showed up every single day. I was the most positive person in every room. But guess what? My results didn't match my effort. And for the longest time, I couldn't understand why. Until one day, Tim Her actually sat me down and he actually gave me the missing piece. And I'm going to share it with you. He said this. He said, if you could have everything you want the way you are, you'd already have it. If you want more, you have to become more. And that's what changed everything for me because so many people are focusing on doing more instead of focusing on becoming more, right? And when I understood that framework, it changed everything for me. Be, do, have, right? Danny Bay talked about this, I think, on two director calls ago, right? Most people, guess what they do? They focus on the do. They do the calls, they do the events, they do the follow ups. And it's frustrating because they do all the things they're supposed to do, but they're left wondering why the results aren't there. But at the end of the day, guess what? The sequence starts with B. Who you are shapes what you do. What you do consistently produces what you have. So for 5 years, 5 years, I was doing everything right and going nowhere. I think my collective income in 5 years was $1,500. So if you already made $1,500, you made more than me my first 5 years in network marketing. Okay. And guess what? When I understood this after 5 years, I've never made less than multiple six figures in every company I've been a part of. Okay. Because guess what? I started focusing on becoming instead of focusing on doing. So what does that mean, right? I know it's an abstract concept, but let me contextualize it, okay? So I want to give you a picture. I want you to imagine an audition, okay? Imagine two actors at an audition. They have the same casting director. They're auditioning for the same role, the exact same script in their hands. But guess what? One of them
So
memorized the lines.
everything was
Every
going
word is
on.
perfect.
I can
Every
hear
beat
the
is correct,
sound.
right? And then guess what? The other one
So
became the
amazing.
character. They lived in it. They breathed it. One gets the role, the other goes home confused.
Hey, Julian, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry, something happened.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
I was looking for the person that wasn't muted.
Okay. So let me backtrack, right? So just to give you a picture, imagine two people are auditioning. They go in for an audition, right? Two actors, right? They have the same casting director, they have the same role, right? They have the exact same script in their hands. One of them memorized the lines. Every word is perfect, every beat is correct. Now, the other person became the character. They lived in it, they breathed it. One gets the role, the other one goes home confused. Like, I knew all the lines. Why didn't I get it? And here's what I want to share with you, this is network marketing, this is leadership. Because at the end of the day, everyone in this industry has the same script, they have the same product, they have the same opportunity. So the real question is, who are you being inside the opportunity? Because that's what matters, right? That's what determines who gets the role. So again, let's ask that question. Where are you operating? You see, for me, I believe there are three levels every person in this room is operating from right now. Level one is doing. This is where most people live, right? They do the calls, they attend the events, they post the content, they use the scripts. They're busy, but they're not building. They building the business, but they're not building the person that can handle the business, that deserves the business, right? And because they're performing identity, What are they doing? They're copying what a successful person looks like from the outside, but they haven't become one on the inside. See, level two is where the magic happens. Level two is being. This is where the shift happens, right? You stop asking, what should I do today? And you start asking, who am I becoming today? And at level two, right? And a leader at level two, guess what? They don't need to be motivated. They don't need someone to hold them accountable. They move because that's who they are, not because of how they feel. Now, level three is the magic, right? Level three is what we call multiplying. And at the end of the day, this is everybody's goal. Not to build a team that depends on you, but to build a team of level two people who go on to create more level two people, right? That's duplication, not of scripts, but of identity. So here's the honest question for everybody on this call right now. Now, not the one you'd answer in front of your team, not the one that you answer, in front of your upline, but one I want you to answer to yourself. Which level are you operating from right now? Okay. So let me share with you another personal story. So I spent 5 years at level one. I was the most positive person in the room. I was the most eager, the most willing. People liked me, but guess what? They didn't follow me, right? Because I was trying to earn belonging instead of leading from identity. And then everything collapsed. One day, everything collapsed. My business fell apart. My relationship fell apart. I was homeless, sleeping in my Lexus. And I would remember waking up my leaders early, tell them it was about discipline, just so I could use the gym shower because they had the guest pass before anybody knew what was happening. And the last thing my former upline said to me before I left was this. He said to me, I created you. I helped you have more success for the first time, and you would never have done it without me, and you'll never do it again. I was in a very toxic relationship with my previous upline, and it was one of the most difficult things because I made it happen because I leveraged his belief in me, but I didn't have that belief in me. And when he said that to me, something triggered. A switch got flipped, and I looked back and I said, well, even though I borrowed his confidence, I was the one that did the work. That was me. And when he issued that challenge saying I'll never do it again, I took it personally. And so I was living in Texas at the time. I drove back to California, and you know what I did? I made a list of every mentor I had ever had. I made a list of everything that made them great, and I committed to becoming that. Not performing it, but becoming it where the lyrics match the song. And because I had 5 years of experience, I knew what to do. The only difference was now I finally knew who I needed to be. So guess what? If you're on this call and you know how to talk about the product, you know how to use the product, you know how to demo the product, and you know the comp plan, and you can show someone how to do the same thing, then you already know exactly what to do. You already have the experience to go team leader and director and so forth. Now it's all about shaping who you need to be. And let me tell you what happened from that point. When I made that decision, after I made that list, that's when I got reconnected with Tim Herr and Chris Kim. And in that company in 6 months, from that moment, I recruited and built a team of 1,000 people, right? I built a $10,000 a month income in less than 90 days. And in that company, I became the youngest and fastest six-figure earner in the company. Now, here's what I want to share with you. The strategy didn't change. But do you know what changed? I changed. And when I changed, guess what? Everything changed. So I want to share with you this model that I didn't come up with it, right? But it works, okay? Now, it's simple enough to remember, powerful enough to change everything. And what that is called IAR, okay? It's the IAR loop, right? And what that means is very, very simple. Your identity shapes your actions, right? When you know who you are and you shape your identity, you don't force yourself to take actions. You take those actions simply because that's who you are. That's your standards. And guess what? Actions produce results, right? I call it the IAR loop, right? So most people try to change the results without ever touching their identity. They change their strategy, they change their team, they change their upline, they change their company, but the results stay the same. I know this is kind of negative, probably shouldn't talk about it, but I've seen people quit Remon over the smallest things, right? Over the smallest things, I've seen people quit Remon and they go to another shiny object company, they go to something else. And I remember having this conversation because I know some of the leaders who are above them who poured so much into them, felt so hurt and betrayed because they looked at them like brothers, like sisters. And I told them, listen, no matter where they go, there they are. And I promise you, it won't even be a year, and they're going to find the same problems in the same company, in the new company, and they're going to go to another company. And that's exactly what's happening right now, right? And what's crazy is a lot of people wonder why that happens. And here's what I want to share with you. It's like trying to grow a different fruit without ever changing the root. You can polish the fruit, You can spray it, you can rearrange it on the tree, but guess what? The tree will keep producing the same fruit because the root hasn't changed. Now, let me share with you how most people think. Most people think when I get results, right, I will believe in myself. That's how most people think. When I get results, I will believe in myself. But do you know how leaders think? Leaders are a little bit different. They go, I believe in myself, so my actions produce results. And guess what? The loop runs in one direction only, from my identity outward always. Okay. So let's talk about the backward loop, right? Well, I talked about that, right? How most people think. Okay. Most people, let me go back, right? Most people, they're waiting for the results to grant them their new identity. And guess what? They're just simply waiting to lose. Because here's what happens: you show up, the prospect says no, and you think, maybe I'm not cut out for this. You post content, nobody engages, and you think, maybe this isn't for me. You recruit someone, they quit in 30 days, and you think, maybe I'm not a real leader. And with every piece of negative feedback, the identity gets smaller. And a smaller identity, guess what? Produces smaller actions. Smaller actions produce smaller results, and the loop confirms itself. What leaders do is they break that loop, right? Not by ignoring the feedback, but by deciding who they are before the results arrive, right? So let's talk about it. Failure is data. It's like a guided missile, right? So here's what Maltz taught about failure. And this is one of the most important reframes I can give you. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is simply data. So I want you to think about like a guided missile, right? It launches, it misses, it corrects, it relocks on the target, and it adjusts constantly until it hits, right? The missile does not self-destruct because the first trajectory was wrong. It does not quit. It doesn't spiral into self-doubt. Every miss is information, and every correction gets it closer, right? So your business is like a guidance system. And think about it. When you're traveling and using Google Maps, right? Hopefully you're not using Waze, because sometimes you get a shorter route, but you end up in a sketchy area. Just kidding, right? Not really, right? I had that happen to me today. But imagine your GPS. When you make a wrong turn, does your GPS say you made a mistake? Does your GPS says you failed? Does the GPS says you might as well just quit and go home? No. What does the GPS say? Rerouting, rerouting, rerouting. So every time you fail, you make a mistake, that's just data for you, guess what? To reroute. So when the prospect who says no, that's not rejection. That's redirection. I love what Chris Kim says. He says, whether someone says yes or no has already been decided way before you even showed them the opportunity. Your job is just to show it to them and let them decide, right? That team member who quits, that's not abandonment. That's alignment data, right? The month with no growth, that's not failure. That's a blueprint for the next move, right? So again, at the end of the day, leaders don't take feedback personally. They take it strategically, okay? So let's move on. Let's talk about standards versus motivation, okay? And we're going to wrap this up very, very soon, right? Now, I want to say something that might challenge how you've been operating, okay? Motivation, guess what? Is borrowed energy. So many people are looking for motivation. But guess what? Motivation, it expires every time, no exceptions, right? You leave the room pumped up, you hit 3 obstacles the same week, and the motivation's gone. Now you need another event, you need another speech, you need another hit, right? But guess what? Standards are own decisions. Standards do not expire. They do not depend on how you feel, and they do not require a speaker to activate them, right? Motivated people need a reason to move. People that set standards, they don't need a reason to move, right? So let me give you a concrete example. Let's talk about the gym, right? There's a person who goes to the gym when they feel like it, when they're motivated, when the week wasn't too hard, when the weather is good. Then there's a person who the gym is simply not optional. Not because they love every session, but because it's who they are. One has a body that reflects discipline. The other has a gym membership they feel guilty about. Guess what? Your business is exactly the same. And that's what fitness taught me. Fitness taught me something non-negotiable, that the body does not care about your emotions. It responds to consistent standards, period. And I realized if I can build that discipline in my body, I can build it in my business, I can build it in my relationships, and I can build it anywhere. Because guess what? Standards don't negotiate, okay? So let's talk about the 4 pillars of leadership. Now, this is kind of abstract, right? But I want to talk about something I call the 4 pillars, right? They're not life balance tips. They're more of a structural load-bearing walls of a leader, okay? And what I mean by that is if you bleed in any of these 4 pillars, guess what? It's going to bleed into the other pillars. And this is something that you got to make deposits every single day. Pillar 1 is fitness, okay? Guess what? The body is not separate from the business. Discipline, practice on the body spills into every area of your life. When I'm consistent in the gym, Guess what? I'm consistent everywhere. When I'm not, I can feel it in my decisions, my energy, in my leadership, right? Now, if you want to know a person's relationship with discipline, this might, I don't know how people are going to take this, but look at their body, look at their home. Take care of your body. Now, I know, a lot of people, they say, man, I would die for my kids. But would you live for your kids? I come from an Asian background, and Asians are so funny. Like every Asian parent wants their kid to be a doctor, right? And then when it's time for them to be sick, they'll never go to the doctor. And a lot of parents, they sacrifice their health for their kids, and they think that's noble. And I honestly, I'm gonna tell you something. I think that's one of the most selfish things you can do. To ignore your health, to give your kids everything, is gonna backfire because guess what? Your kids might have better opportunities, but because you didn't take care of your health, what's going to happen when you're older and now your kids have to take care of you for all the decisions that you made, right? So when you take care of yourself, it takes care of everything else. Now, pillar two, I like to call it faith. And again, grounded leaders, guess what? They don't panic. They operate from certainty, right? Not arrogance, but certainty. And guess what? When the market shifts, when the team has a bad month, when everything feels uncertain, faith is what keeps you anchored to the ground. And for me, faith is what keeps me from making fear-based decisions, okay? That's belief in something greater than myself, right? That's belief in the opportunity. So whatever you need to do to build your faith, I encourage you to do that, okay? Pillar three is family. Now, let me say something clearly, okay? Peace at home is not a reward for success. It's leverage for success. When you create peace at home, it becomes the greatest tool in every other area of your life, okay? When I do training, a lot of times I do trainings for men, and what I tell men is when a man is not fighting at home, guess what? He thinks clearer, he moves sharper, he builds bigger. Home should not be another battlefield. And I had to learn this the hard way. For years, I thought I can out earn instability. I thought more money would fix the foundation. But one of the biggest realizations I've had is you cannot out earn insecurity. You cannot outwork misalignment, right? So build peace at home, protect it like an asset because guess what? It is one. And pillar four is business because at the end of the day, execution without identity is just activity. Busy is not building. When your identity is aligned with leadership, guess what? The business becomes a natural expression, not a grind, but an extension of who you are. And like I said earlier, if you're bleeding in one pillar, you're going to bleed in all of them. Leadership is not compartmentalized, it's integrated. Okay. So here's what I want to share with you. I call this simple identity stack. And, a couple of conventions ago, I love Brianna Michaels' trainings. Like, I think she's one of the best trainers we have in the whole entire company. And I just look forward to every time she comes on stage. And she talked about this, having a calendar and then, have a set of standards every single day that no matter what, you're going to get these things done. And have a calendar. Every day you complete those things, you make an X. And what you want to do is build momentum. You want to stack those wins, right? And so I created this stack, and it's something I've been doing for a long time, but I really got focused in November, after the last convention, because, Brianna said set impossible goals, right? And, after a year of being I'm still happily married. I don't know why I phrased it like that. But, last year was my first year being married. We were in a different country every single month for Remon. And, we've ate very, very well. And I ended up, gaining like I got to 27% body fat. And I was like, you know what? This is my time to dial it back in, right? So I created this stack because it's about making deposits. Every time you make a good decision, you're making a deposit. Every time you make a bad decision, you're making withdrawal, okay? So this is what you could do daily that's going to help you build your business. So what does it look like practically? Now, these are your minimums. Don't make your minimums your maximums, but at the end of the day, if you just minimally do this every day, you're going to notice a big difference in your business. So what does that look like practically? Like, let me give you a daily system, okay? So again, I call this the daily identity stack, 5 non-negotiables every single day, okay? Again, this is not a to-do list, right? What it really is an identity rehearsal. So number one is your body. Train or move with intention every day, no exceptions, right? Now, again, this is not about aesthetics. I'm not telling you, you need to have a six-pack abs. You need to go from 20% body fat to 10% like I did, right? This is about proving to yourself every morning that you're someone who keeps commitments. And it's something as simple as just going on a treadmill. So for those of you, sorry, that's my alarm to like wrap it up, go faster because I'm doing the company call. So here's what I want to share with you. Something simple, okay? All you got to do is go get a treadmill, go to the gym, put it at 10 incline, right? Start at 2 miles per hour and just do that for 20 minutes to 30 minutes. That's all you got to do. And because you're doing that, you're staying in zone 2, and it'll actually burn a lot of fat without taxing your central nervous system. And again, we don't have to go too much into it, but find a way to move with intention every single day. If you don't have access to a treadmill, just go for a walk 30 to 45 minutes every single day. And if you happen to live in a bad neighborhood, maybe go for a run. No, I'm just kidding, right? But take care of your body every single day. Move with intention. What I love so much when we were at, I think it was when we were in Macau last year for Asia Convention and the Philippines, right? Every time I woke up in the morning to go early to the gym, you know who I saw there? I saw Christy Belliston, right? And then I saw Susan, right? Because they understand taking care of your body. Your body creates energy for you to carry on everywhere else in your business, okay? And guess what? When you move, you feel better, okay? So number two is your mind. This is where you build your faith, okay? 20 minutes of intentional personal development every day. A book, an audio, reflection, because that feeds the identity that you're building. Super simple, right? 20 minutes of intentional personal development. And here's what's amazing. If you have access to a treadmill, 20 minutes on a treadmill, 20 minutes of intentional personal development, you just knocked out two, out of the four things that you could do. Okay. Huge. Make those deposits every single day. Number three is your mission. This is your business. What are three high value business actions? Not activity, productivity, right? What are three high value business actions you can take that are going to create major impact? Right? What are the conversations that you can have that are going to move people? What are the follow-ups that you can use to close the loops of customers and planners? Because guess what? Leadership is what sets the tone. Okay, three things. So many people make a whole laundry list of things. But what Jim Rohn says the best, he goes, if you have a list of things, guess what? 80% of those are only going to make 20% of the difference. But 20% of the list is going to make 80% of the difference. So instead of focusing on crossing out this huge list, what are three major things you can do today that'll push the needle forward, that'll push your business forward, and get those three things? What's going to bring you the highest return, the highest reward, right? Number four, and this is super important, right? Especially when you're building a business and you have a family, you have a husband, you have a wife, you have kids. Every single day, make one intentional connection every day, whether it's your team, your spouse, a mentor, or a key customer, right? Quality over quantity, but it must happen. One of the things I teach people is like, imagine, like a lot of times I work with men and men just think, hey, my job is just to bring home the bacon, right? But it's like one of those things, like if you're not depositing into your relationships, your wife, guess what? Every late night you have to stay, every run you have to be on, now it becomes, oh, you're going to be gone again and all this different things. But what if you made daily deposits? In 1 week, you do date night, right? With your wife, your husband, your kids, undivided attention where you just pour into them. Now, when you have to go on a trip, it's like, man, I can't wait for you to come back, right? Because you're making those deposits. Okay. Number five, very, very simple, standard check. And this is probably the biggest one. I got this from Kobe Bryant. At the end of the day, before you sleep, all you got to do is ask yourself one question. Did I show up today as a person I said I am? Yes or no? No judgment, no spiral, just data. Because guess what? Every day you complete the stack, right? Every day you cross an X on a calendar, you're casting a vote for the identity of a leader, right? Every day you skip it, you vote for the old version of you, okay? And so there's more things I wanted to share. Do I have time? All right, I'll do it really quick, okay? So the most dangerous trap in business that I've noticed, okay? The most dangerous trap that I've noticed in this industry is building a team that needs you. You see, I spent years being the person who carried people. I would go ahead, see someone falling behind, and I would go back to drag them forward because I believed in them more than they believed in themselves. And here's what I learned, okay? You cannot want it more for someone than they want it for themselves. Because when you do, you're going to operate from force. You're going to push them. You're going to drag them along, right? And guess what? A lot of times they're going to resent you for it. Not because they're bad people, but because resentment is what happens when someone feels like a project instead of a person. Right? At one point I had a team that I poured everything into. I saw them as my little brothers and sisters. And when crisis hit and some of them chose sides, some of them left, it hurt because I had given them everything. But this was the lesson that I learned from that. I was building dependence, not leadership. I was needed, not multiplied. And there's a massive difference, okay? So I talked about Power versus Force. It's a great book. Again, very hard read, but it's a great book, right? And let me show you the difference, right? And again, this distinction in that book changed how I led. See, force is pushing people. It's convincing. It's saving. It's overgiving. It's overprotecting. Force is emotionally exhausting, not just for you, but also for them. You see, power is a standard, right? Power is standards. It's environment and clarity, self-respect, and detachment. Because power is systematically calm. Force pushes people. Power attracts people. So think about leaders that you respected most in your life. Did they chase you? Did they beg you? Did they convince you? Or did they simply hold a standard that you wanted to meet? And that's what I'm asking you to become. Not someone your team needs, but someone your team chooses, okay? So we're gonna skip this. We're gonna have to save this for another time. That's a little teaser, right? And so I want to close this with this. Okay. I made the decision, and let me share with you the decision I made. Okay. And I'll close with this. Everything that I built, the team, the income, the recognition, the life, it did not come from a better strategy. It came from a decision about who I was going to be, not when conditions were perfect, not when I felt ready, not when someone gave me permission. I made this decision homeless, sitting in a car, waking up early to use a gym shower so no one knew. That version of me made a decision about who I was going to become. And I did not wait for circumstances to align. I aligned myself. And guess what? That's when the circumstances followed. So I'm going to close with this and I'll pass it back to Susan. Okay. The last question I want to ask you is, who are you when you leave the Zoom? You're in the Zoom right now. That means something, but it's not enough just to be in the Zoom. The real question is, who are you when you leave this Zoom? Because the people around you are not watching your goals. They're watching your standards. They're watching how you carry yourself when nobody is looking. They're watching whether you're becoming. And at the end of the day, leadership is not a title. It's a standard you live. So here's my ask. Not tomorrow, not today, right? But who are you becoming? Because when that person changes, everything else, your success, your income becomes inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So, with that being said, thank you so much for having me. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I need to hop on for the company Zoom, but I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll go ahead and pass it back to Susan.
Thank you, Julian, so much. That was incredible. Before we let you go, you mentioned what book you read, and we had a question in the comments. What was
So two books, Psycho Cybernetics. That one's really great about re-engineering your identity, becoming more, and how all that fits in. And then the other one is Power versus Force, right? So another example, Power versus Force. Everybody loves learning, but they hate studying. Studying is force, learning is power, right? And so when you learn how to build your business like that, you're pulled forward versus pushed forward.
awesome? Thank you so much. This was incredible. We appreciate you. We're going to be rewatching this and sharing it. And everybody in the chat was also saying, we can't wait to see you train from stage in Vegas. So we're gonna be speaking that into existence.
Let's
So
go.
awesome. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.